That particular series of films was called the American Film Theater. In 1990, Lee Remick was supposed to be dying. Doctors said her cancer was too advanced, but she wasn't ready to give up. She took one last role in Russia, working alongside the mysterious Maximilian Schell. During those cold nights in Leningrad, something happened between them. Her private diary tells a story that no one expected. The words she wrote about Schell were so personal, so raw that her family tried to keep them hidden. But the truth always finds a way out. In 1942, Lee Remick was 7 years old when her world shattered. She had grown up in Quincy, Massachusetts, in a home that seemed perfect. Her father, Francis Edwin Frank Remick, was a Harvard-educated clothier who owned Remick's department store. The family had comfort, stability, and the feeling that life was secure. Then came the divorce. Back then, such a split carried deep social shame and often left women with nothing. The separation tore the family apart, leaving Lee old enough to feel the loss but too young to understand. That moment marked her forever, shaping her uneasy relationship with stability and commitment. Years later, those wounds would echo in the troubled women she played on screen. After the divorce, Lee's mother was left alone with 2 children, Lee and her older brother Bruce. It was the 1940s. Single mothers had almost no safety net. Gertrude had once been a stage actress, but acting did not guarantee steady work, and she had little else to rely on. She packed up their lives in Quincy and moved to New York City. It was a fall from comfort to near poverty. Every day was a fight to survive. She auditioned for roles against thousands of other hopefuls while trying to create some kind of stability for her children. Money was so tight that sending Lee to an elite private school took enormous sacrifice and perhaps help from relatives or benefactors. Watching her mother's struggle left a deep mark on Lee. She learned to be fiercely independent, but also developed a fear of financial insecurity that would push her to work relentlessly in her career. In Manhattan, Lee attended Miss Witt's classes, one of the most exclusive girls' schools in the city. It was the early 1940s and her classmates were the daughters of wealthy industrialists, politicians, and socialites. They spoke casually about summers in the Hamptons and vacations in Europe. Lee's reality was very different. She lived with the constant worry of money running out. The school's address, 45 East 75th Street, placed it right in the heart of wealth, near the famous Frick collection. But for Lee, it was a world she could see, but never truly joined. She was likely on reduced tuition or scholarship, which only highlighted her outsider status. That feeling of being caught between two worlds would later give her a rare depth when playing characters trapped between social classes. Around this time, Lee trained in ballet at the Suoboda School of Dance under Maria Suoboda, a former member of the Bulowy Ballet. Suoboda was a demanding teacher and her Russian methods were brutal. Lee practiced for hours, pushing her body past its limits. She danced until her feet bled, until her pointe shoes were soaked in red. But she never stopped. The training was not just about steps. It demanded emotional truth through movement. Lee's obsession with perfection became a kind of survival. The discipline she learned there would stay with her, serving her well in Hollywood when she endured stunts, grueling conditions, and long shoots without complaint. There was another stranger piece of her family story. Lee's maternal great-grandmother, Eliza Duffield, had been an English-born preacher in Roundhill, New York, something almost unheard of for a woman at the time. She founded her own congregation, defying both religious and social expectations. This legacy of moral authority and rebellion left its mark on Lee, who often played women torn between desire and duty, as in Days of Wine and Roses and Anatomy of a Murder. By 1952, Lee was 17 and desperate to break into show business. when she saw an ad for dancers at the music circus in Hyannis, Massachusetts. She lied about her age to qualify. It was a dangerous gamble. If anyone had found out she was still a student at Miss Wits, it could have ended her career before it began. But she got the job, fooling seasoned professionals and setting her career in motion. A year later, she made her Broadway debut in Be Your Age. It was a disaster. The play opened on January 14, 1953, and closed 4 days later. After only 5 performances, the failure was crushing and she nearly lost her place at Miss Hutes, because students were not allowed to work in professional productions during the school year. After much debate, the school let her stay. Ironically, the flop led her to an agent and new auditions. Her real turning point came in May 1956. She was performing in all expenses paid on Robert Montgomery presents when Kazan happened to be watching television. He wasn't looking for talent, but something about her caught his attention. That chance moment changed everything. He cast her in A Face in the Crowd 1957, choosing her over established Hollywood names. A risky move for a director, fresh off the success of On the Waterfront. To prepare for her role, Lee went to Arkansas 3 weeks before filming. She lived with a local family, trained with high school majorettes, and practiced baton twirling until she could perform with 60 local girls. Filming involved 5,000 extras in the August heat, each earning $1 an hour. By the time the cameras rolled, Lee didn't just play a Southern majorette. She had become one. Lee Remick's rise in Hollywood was as fast as it was complicated. After her breakout in A Face in the Crowd, the studio moved quickly to secure her. 20th Century Fox offered her a 7-year contract that looked generous on paper, about $175,000 for every 10-week shooting period.